Alright, welcome to another video, and before we get started I'd like to take a quick minute to thank all the Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members whose names you see scrolling across the screen right now. They make this financially possible, and without you, I probably wouldn't be here making videos, so thank you. Alright, so today we're going to be flying something different. As you can see, it's running analog video, so let's go ahead and get it armed.
Motors armed.
And we'll get it in the air.
Q loiter flight mode.
Takeoff in loiter mode. So as you can see, we're flying a VTOL. This was sent to me by a friend of mine who has done a lot of work with RGplane VTOL stuff. And I believe this was one of his airplanes that he did a lot of testing and experimenting and coding and things with. And he was cleaning shop and it was in the way and he asked me if I wanted it. So here we are. This it's nothing special. It's an old E-flite Convergence. But it works, it flies, and it's perfect just to try out VTOL stuff with. So, like I said, we're in the air. I'm going to switch to cruise.
90%. Transition started. Cruise flight mode.
I'm going to transition into fixed wing. We're going to cruise out here over the field a bit.
Transition done.
And this has all been hands off for the whole transition and the resulting cruise, as you can see here. I'm starting to turn a little bit now. I'm just going to kind of cruise down here along the field, kind of along this little tree line here. And I'm going to head out this way a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and gain a bit of altitude just to make sure we're above the trees before we start a QRTO. So now there,
return to home flight mode.
the airplane is going to fly home now.
Signal low. Battery level 1 alert.
And
Battery at 80%.
I do apologize for all the audio alerts coming out of the radio right now. We're running the Yahoo telemetry script with telemetry over FrSky. It's a little FrSky 2.4 gigahertz receiver that was in the airplane. I didn't change any of that, just bound it to my radio and flying it the way he sent it. So while we wait for it to come back and do its transition back into hover mode and then land, I'd like to extend a big thank you to Henry ATX Heli, who's the guy, I've mentioned him before in some of my videos. He's helped me out quite a few times now with RGplane stuff. And he's the guy that sent me this airplane to fly, to try out. So a big thank you to Henry. So you can see there we've transitioned into
Land descent started.
hover mode, and it is descending and landing now. So we're going to let it do that.
Battery level 1 alert.
And you notice it's showing that it's like 21 feet from home, and the reasoning for that is I
Land
have
final started.
a rally point that's set out here a little bit farther
Battery
away.
at 70%.
Away from the shop where I take off from, just to ensure that it doesn't try to get over too close to those
Landing
oak trees.
Motors
And there we go.
disarmed.
It's landed and disarmed. So I'll go ahead and go back into Q loiter. And
Q
I'll
loiter
take
flight
off
mode.
again. I need to
Disarmed.
cycle my arm switch.
Motors armed.
And we'll get back in the air again. I'm going to run up to about 50 feet or so.
Battery level 1.
And I do need to watch my battery because I'm only running an old tired 3S2200 in this. It's the only good battery I had on hand that would fit and work. Well, we went a little higher than I said it was. We're at like 80 feet. But we're going to go ahead and transition back into cruise
Transition started.
and let it
Cruise flight
do its
mode.
thing. So like I said, we can't go too
Transition
far
done.
because we're just running the 2.4 gigahertz radio, the old FrSky stuff,
Battery at 60%.
and an old tired battery. And but yeah, like I said, you see here we're running in cruise mode. We're pulling about 10 amps or so to cruise, 10, 11 amps. We're closer to 12 now. But it's not the most efficient plane in the world, and short flight times with a small battery in it, and relatively limited range with the 2.4 FrSky stuff in it. But it works. It gets the job done. And most importantly, I think, it has piqued my interest in VTOL, and it makes me want to build one. And I do know I'm going to go ahead and switch back to RTO again, QRTO.
Q return to home flight
It's going to
mode.
climb up to 200 feet to return home, and then Once it gets close enough, it'll descend back to 100 feet, which is what the rally point altitude is set to. And then it will descend and land. But yeah, what I was saying, I do have some parts coming thanks to a viewer of mine,
50%.
Todd. He's mentioned in the Discord channel recently that he's ordered me some parts to convert my T1 Ranger to VTOL. And I'll probably get to that at some point. I don't know exactly when I'll start building that, but I will build it eventually. And like I said, I kind of stole some parts off the Ranger recently anyway, and it hasn't been flying. It's been somewhat grounded. We may have actually returned to the real home point this time rather than the rally point, because it is landing a little close this time. But nonetheless, it's getting it done. It works fine.
Landing complete.
So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to run outside, and I want to try to get some
Motors disarmed.
line of sight footage of this. I'll do one more quick little lap like that. I'll take off, let it cruise out, and I'll hit return to launch and let it come back and try to film that from the ground. So enjoy that, and keep an eye out for what's to come in the future.
Q loiter flight mode. Disarmed. Armed. Motors armed. Battery at 40%. Transition started. Cruise flight mode. Battery level 2 alert. Transition done. Battery at 30%. Q return to home flight mode. Battery at 25%. Land descent started. Land final started. Battery at 20%. Battery level 2 alert. Battery level 2 alert. Landing complete. Motors disarmed. Disarmed. Q stabilize flight mode.
And there we have it.